All right, again, if you're just joining us, two officers, sheriff's deputies, shot and wounded up in the North Point area in a parking lot. We're told it's near Target off of Highway 2, so you know where that area is up there, where all this activity is taking place.
Our Othello Richards is at the scene. He spoke with witnesses. Othello, what can you tell us out there?
Well, right now, Jane, we're still speaking to witnesses. If you look behind me, you can see the scene. They tell me that this is where this happened. I have a couple witnesses here, and I think it's better that we hear from in their own words what happened. Two of you can come out here for a second. And so, your names?
Tom.
Tom. And?
Krista.
And Krista. Come a little bit this way, Tom and Krista. You said that you heard gunshots. Go ahead and describe to me what happened after that.
Heard gunshots. We looked out the window, saw a black SUV just flying out of here, and we looked down the street and saw police officers falling down. So we just went out of the house and went over to see if we could help at all.
And the police car, or the Spokane County deputy car, one of those vehicles over there?
Yes, it's the two right behind the white one.
Okay, so you said you heard the gunshots, you heard a vehicle speed through the neighborhood.
We saw him drive.
Saw him drive through.
Yeah.
Krista, I see right now you have blood on your hands.
Yeah.
The two of you went to help the deputies.
Yeah, basically we were about the second ones on the scene, so we just ran over to, cover the bullet wounds and just help however we could.
Hold pressure on the wounds if we could.
Yeah.
Can you describe the injuries for me?
The guy that I was with he had one shot in each arm and then one in his leg, and I think the other guy had at least one in his other arm, so.
Were they talking?
Yeah, they were coherent.
Yeah.
The one guy, he started to kind of fade out right when the paramedics showed up, but he could talk the whole time, and they should be all right, I believe.
They should be all right. And then moments later, I take it, paramedics arrived and took over from there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so as for the SUV, so you said an SUV went speeding through the neighborhood that you saw?
Yeah, it was going
That's
really
what kind of
fast.
made us look out our window. Like, first we thought it was just fireworks, but then we saw the car speed by, so we kind of looked out the window, and then that's when we saw the cop was down and no one was really around, so we just went out to see how we could help.
So when you say fireworks, so this is like many bullet shots?
Oh, at least 10.
Yeah.
At least 10 shots, I would say. It was just sounded like someone lit a string of firecrackers off.
And you only heard at that point. You didn't see the shots being fired.
No. We just heard at that point.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for helping those deputies.
We've been told that this activity up north, that something's going on now in the Elk Chatteroy area.
That's right. Police are in pursuit of the suspect right now, we're told, and they're actually setting up spike strips at Elk Chatteroy Road in pursuit of the suspect, trying to stop that suspect right now. They're in a chase with the suspect, and that's why they're laying down the spike strips, trying to put an end to all this.
Now, the suspect is heading northbound. Of course, that is on Highway 2, headed to the Elk. That would be Riverside area. The Elk Chatteroy Road, of course, can take off. It can go westbound there toward the Deer Park area. We don't know right now the status of this chase that we're told is going on and this possible suspect. That we're being told that it's a possible suspect, but there's no confirmation of that.
That's right. Spokane police sent out some information saying that they were searching for a black Honda Accord being driven north from the scene by the suspect. Now, we heard initial reports that the suspect could be in a black Yukon or Tahoe SUV. Now, Spokane police say they are searching for a black Honda Accord. Of course, there was another report of a carjacking a few blocks away from that initial shooting scene that they believe could be related, and that a Honda Accord was actually taken from an elderly driver there. So again, that moving north now toward Elk Chatteroy Road. Jason is at Riverside Auto Repair. Jason, what did you hear?
Just a whole lot of police cars going by.
Mm-hmm. Did you see, Jason, what vehicle that they were chasing?
I really didn't. Nope. I heard all the sirens going by, and I mean, it's been police cars and undercovers and all kinds of stuff.
A lot of cars you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how many?
I would say I've seen probably at least 20, 30 cars go by, which is most I've ever seen for anything.
Jason, we're told that there's a chase going on right now with the suspect up toward the Chatteroy area. Is the commotion around you, is that kind of settling down now?
Yep.
Also,
in fact, just within probably about the last minute,
Okay. Also, deputies obviously can't be everywhere at once, but authorities have been telling people to stay inside because this is a very fluid situation. Has anyone come by to talk to you about the situation?
Jason, let me interrupt you right now. We're just receiving word that this chase is over. It ended on Highway 395. That would be over on Crawford Road, which is in the Deer Park area. Highway 395 and the Deer Park area. So apparently in this Elk Chatteroy Road, the suspect then headed to the Deer Park area. At least that's where 395 and Crawford Road is located, I believe. And we are told that this suspect has shot himself. So we are attempting now to get on the scene over on Highway 395 and Crawford Road, where this high-speed chase through North Spokane up toward Elk Chatteroy and then over toward the Deer Park area has ended now in gunfire, as it began in gunfire right there from the scene that you see with the two deputies being wounded. Again, we are told that this chase is over at 395 and Crawford Road. The suspect has been shot, and we are receiving word the suspect shot himself. Now, what you're looking at are pictures from the scene at 395 and Crawford Street. This is where this chase ended in gunfire again. We are told that one suspect shot himself there. We do not know the condition of that suspect, or if he shot and killed himself. We do not know. But we are told that one suspect shot himself at this location, possibly in the vehicle. We're still checking that out from the scene. Othello Richards is making his way to that scene there.
And this all unfolded very quickly, starting around 4:15 this afternoon with the two deputies shot. And then shortly after that, there were reports of a carjacking about 3 blocks away from the scene. Joining us now is Jason McCullough. Jason, I understand you witnessed that carjacking. What can you tell us?
As I was coming around the corner from the shooting, I had went over to the neighbors and saw that the house down the street had been blocked off with yellow tape. And supposedly the suspect has broken through the back door of this old lady's house, grabbed her by her neck, dragged her outside as she was hitting him with her cane, and then he takes his gun and hits her in the head, and then takes off in her car.
Is this something you witnessed, Jason, or somebody telling you this?
One of the neighbors had come over to try to help the lady and told the guy to back off the lady, and the guy had turned the gun on him and told him to back up. So,
Jason, did you see this happen, or did you hear this secondhand?
By the time I got out, I heard the tires screeching, but by the time I got out, the car had been gone.
We've got suspects, people with their hands in the air coming out of the house. 2 of them, gentlemen with their down on their knees. They're being told down with their hands in the air. There was a 3rd suspect who walked to the left of that vehicle over there. There she is coming back into the scene. She's walking backwards. This is pretty standard procedure. She's walking backwards to the officers so she can be detained there. And we're watching this live taking place. We do not know how these 3 might be connected to what happened over on Hawthorne Road in Holland. We can see now the female suspect is being taken into custody and will be questioned. We've got 2 male suspects now on their knees with their hands in the air right now. They will go one by one as they detain these people. One of these may be a suspect in reference to the shooting of the 2 sheriff's deputies.
Ashley Corson is live on the scene now. Ashley, let's reconnect with you.
Hi, Jane and Randy. You guys hear me okay here?
Yes.
You bet.
It's very, very chaotic at the moment. So, again, you could see this woman right now being escorted by officers. She has her hands behind her back. And there are still 2 men in the street, if you can see there. We have one standing up, turning around right now with his hands up. Another one still knelt down on the ground with his hands up. Again, we can't confirm how they're exactly involved with this situation. But just moments ago, they did come out of that house. The SWAT team is actively in position behind vehicles right now as these two men and the woman are walking into custody right now. So you can see him still walking backward. Again, police have their guns drawn. They're all in their proper stance right now. And we did take one woman into custody already. Still another man on the ground with his hands up there. So we'll keep watching this as this develops here. Again, live picture here at that second location where these suspects are being arrested at know, you guys see that okay?
We know they're being detained right now. We don't know if they're arrested for anything, but we'll find out when they're questioned. And we also know that it's standard procedure that if you're in the house with somebody, They don't know if you're a friend of the suspect. They don't know who you are in reference to this suspect. And they've had an officer shot here, 2 of them. So they're going to be very, very careful. They're going to take everybody into custody who was in that house. So that's what's going on right now.
We're told that the suspect shot himself. Othello Richards is there live with the latest. Othello?
Well, Jane and Randy, we still don't know here at the scene. We haven't been told what the condition of the suspect is. Where I am right now is at 395 and H Street. You can see that this road is blocked right here. Now, a half mile down the street north is where 395 and Crawford meets. That's where you see some police vehicles. You may get a better idea because you're able to zoom in. But from where I am, I can't see people, but obviously you're much closer than I am with the ability to zoom in the cameras. And so that's where we're told that officers were able to stop this suspect over here, and as you've been reporting, the suspect shot himself.
In fact, let's head back to Ashley Corsland. She is at that East Princeton address with one of the people inside the home where police thought there might be a suspect inside.
Yeah, Jane and Randy, this is Nate Thompson with me. Now, he was one of the men, there were 2 men and 1 woman. He was one of the men that were escorted out of the house by police and cuffed. Now, Nate, what happened? Because you say you had no involvement at all with any of the shootings earlier.
No, I didn't. We were actually up at O'Reilly's getting a couple parts and saw a high-speed pursuit go by. So we just went down north to see what was going on, heard a couple officer shootings and everything. And then someone told me on a police scanner something on Nevada and Princeton, and my aunt just lives 4 houses away. So I went to come check on her because she was, home alone. Came up here to check on her. We went inside. She was out back mowing her lawn as all this stuff's going on in front of her house. Now,
you came to check on your aunt then, and you guys go inside the house, and then did the police surround and they come in to get you? I mean, what happened?
The police surrounded it, and then they went to access in the backyard, so we let them through the backyard, let them search the basement, and they were surrounding the camper right next door to the house. And they asked us for our safety to leave. We come outside, then guns drawn all over us.
Okay, so they were more for your safety, removing you from the home. It's not that they thought you might have had involvement?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Have they questioned you? I mean, they pretty quickly uncuffed you and released you.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, the officer mic'd in and told them that he told us to get out of the house for our safety.
Okay, now what was that like? I mean, we had you guys on camera. There are so many people in the area. You guys were handcuffed, put down on your knees, your hands up. What was that like?
It was a little different. Never done that before.
Yeah. I'm sure that was very scary. So
sniper rifles, M16s, everything.
So you've had this terrible shooting take place, acts of heroism, unbelievable from local citizens, a high-speed chase that put so many people in danger out there, and then culminating with the suspect in this case shooting himself and killing himself outside of Deer Park. And so what began at 4 o'clock this afternoon is now officially over at about 7 o'clock tonight.
This is a Storm Tracker 2 weather alert.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kremlin Meteorologist. Share thunder warnings and now across areas of the inland northwest. Let's take a live look outside downtown. You can see the camera obscured now by some rain and heavier rain on the way. Take a look at the Department of Transportation cameras. It depends on the location, as always, with thunderstorms. Some areas seeing a lot of rain, so a lot of standing water on the roadway, so be careful of that. All getting reports up along 395 of some 3/4-inch hail just west of 395, north of the North Division Y. And you can see why as you see numerous thunderstorms and lightning strikes all across the inland northwest as a very active weather system is moving from the south to the north. We'll take some of the lightning tracker away, and so you can see the individual storm cells. We're concerned about the one now that is just north of St. Mary's as it begins to head into southern Kootenai County and also Shoshone, or southern Kootenai County, that is. So watch out on the southern end of Lake Coeur d'Alene. That is a monster right there. Also tracking a very large cell that is in between State Line Village, right around Post Falls, and just the western portion of Coeur d'Alene. Again, that is also tracking to the north. And just to the south of Spokane, we have a smaller cell, not as intense as others, but again, seeing lots of lightning out of that. And we're also going to see quite a bit of rainfall. We are getting reports of heavy rain with some of those stronger cells, and some of the stronger ones are still to the south of the Spokane area, and they are headed our way as well. And look at this very large system out for our viewers out there in Grant County, just outside side of Moses Lake. My goodness, this system is tracking to the east-northeast about 19 miles per hour. And we're getting reports of 3/4-inch hail out of these particular storms. Obviously, this has farmers concerned out in that area as well, as we could get some erosion going on, possibly, hopefully not seeing any crop damage. But again, that's what they're looking for. That area that you see shaded in purple indicates the strongest part of this thunderstorm. So again, across many areas of the inland northwest, we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. Those are the areas that are shaded in orange. Again, the severe thunderstorm warnings are for those areas that are shaded in orange. Everything else you see on your television screen right there that's shaded in yellow, that's a watch. A warning means it's happening now. Take cover. A watch means the ingredients are there for more storms to become severe as we work our way into the evening hours. So we've pretty much just started this thing at about 2 in the afternoon, and it appears that it's going to go at least until about the dinner time hour and possibly into the early evening hour. So we will keep you informed of these this severe weather as it moves through the inland northwest throughout the afternoon right here on KREM 2. Now back to regular programming.
This is a Storm Tracker 2 weather alert.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm KREM 2 meteorologist Tom Sherry, tracking very active weather across the inland northwest. Severe thunderstorm warnings and watches and flash flood warnings have been issued across the area. You see that live look outside, though. The road's now drying out, but we are tracking another weather system that is to the west of us and headed our way. Take a look at this video from the Moses Lake area. Incredible hail that was falling. If we play the video out in its entirety, they do the smart thing. These folks, they actually pull over and get off the roadways. We had reports of 3 miles west of Moses Lake of golf ball sized hail. That's like Midwestern sized thunderstorm hail. That's 1 3/4 inches in diameter. And again, they're getting that is the storm that moved through the Moses Lake area. Take a look at Sky Tracker Doppler radar. You see that most of the storms now have moved to the north of the Spokane area. But having said that, we still have a line of thunderstorms that is just west of us. It's the same storm that dropped through the Moses Lake area. Most of the intensity should bypass the Spokane area. You folks out in Davenport right now are just getting hammered from this particular storm, but we're going to see more rain headed our way. And because we think we're going to be on the tail end of this line of severe thunderstorms that is now moving towards the northeast, a severe thunderstorm warning for Spokane County now has been issued. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning issued for Spokane County. Those areas that you see shaded in that bright red are issued, and then we have severe thunderstorm watches in effect pretty much everywhere else on your map, and that's going to be until 8 o'clock this evening. We think after about 8 p.m. this evening, things should be able to calm down, and for the weekend, it looks like it's a fairly clear weekend with the sunshine tomorrow, and then maybe another system tracking our way late Sunday night into Monday. We'll talk more about that with your complete forecast coming up tonight on KREM 2 News at 5. We'll have more reports throughout the afternoon. If the storms are in your vicinity, you need to seek immediate cover. We'll have another update for you coming up in just a little bit. Keep it tuned right here to Channel 2, and now back to regular programming.
And severe weather moves into the inland northwest. Rain and hail pelting people driving out of the Moses Lake area. But the wild July weather may not be over for parts of eastern Washington.
KREM 2 News at 5 starts now.
Good evening, and thank you for being with us. I'm Rodney Shaw.
And I'm Jane McCarthy. Storms are settling in north of Spokane County tonight. Rain, hail, and high wind triggered a Storm Tracker 2 weather alert. KREM 2's Sonora Swanson is tracking the damage.
And Chief Meteorologist Tom Sherry is monitoring where these storm clouds are moving next, huh?
It looks like the worst of it is over for us here in the Spokane area, and you can see the Doppler radar right here. I do want to show you some pictures, though, some video that was shot up in Omak. Look at this. Flash flood warnings were issued in Omak. 5 blocks of the central part of town of Omak flooded, had to sandbag City Hall due to the water moving into the building. Also, trees were blown down on Ridge Drive in Omak. And now the Sky Tracker Doppler radar shows that most of those storms are to the north of the Spokane area, still getting pounded in areas of north central Washington as well as into northeastern Washington, and that's where we're seeing most of the lightning strikes. But you can see that here closer to home, we don't have nearly as much. It looks like most of the rain has moved out of the area, but you folks in Omak still experiencing experiencing some heavy rain at this time. Also a big storm moving just to the east of Oroville, and we've had reports of a strong storm that moved through Republic up along Highway 21 south of Curlew Lake at the Winchester RV Park. Numerous trees are down, and they say there's damage to some motorhomes and cars, and power is out, of course, in that area. Let's take a look at the temperatures. My goodness, we went from temperatures in the 80s down to 68 degrees. That's what happens when you have a major thunderstorm move through areas of the inland northwest. We'll look for temperatures that we should warm back into the 70s this evening. Look for an overnight low of 58 with clear skies, sunshine expected on your Saturday, and we'll look for seasonally warm temperatures with a high of about 80. Tracking another system Sunday night, Monday. All the details on that coming up.
Right now, better skies in North Spokane, but that storm that rolled through earlier left some problems behind. Power lines fell and a tree landed on several cars. Crimton Sonora Swanson is now with a first-hand look at the damage.
Randy, behind me, neighbors say at about 2:30 this tree fell down and smashed a truck, and across the street you can see the damage on a window of a white car that's totally smashed in. Right now the road is blocked off here at Maxwell and Wall. Neighbors say the city streets department came by earlier but left. They said city staff told them no one would be able to assess the damage until Monday, and they were directed to leave their cars here until then. The owner of the truck told us his vehicle is still drivable, but the car across the street has a busted windshield and the hood looks like it has some damage.
I was sitting in the house. I just closed the door and I heard a big crack, wind, crack, and crash, and I looked outside and you see what the results were.
Also, earlier this afternoon, power lines on Washington and York fell onto someone's yard. The line sat live on the ground. Fire crews say neighbors didn't lose any power. At about 4 o'clock, Avista was on their way to repair the line. Reporting live in North Spokane, Honora Swanson, KREM 2 News.
The restaurant industry is a massive industry in the United States, but it can be stressful. It also ranks among the highest for rates of drug and alcohol abuse. A Spokane area food critic started to notice how people in the industry can sometimes feel isolated. So now he invites them to his table, mostly to create community, also to find out who among them might be hurting. A lot goes into dining out.
What can I get you to drink?
It's a fast-paced industry. We're through. And restaurant critic Kevin Finch noticed it's an industry steeped in stress.
I'd never seen more continual stress in any industry.
I'll be right
back. Long, odd hours, and hardly any employers able to offer benefits. It can be like a high-wire act without a net.
Couldn't find anything, not just here in Spokane, but anywhere in the country that was trying to care for the industry as a whole.
Perfect, thank you.
Which is precisely why tonight Kevin is making sure the tables are turned.
Great to see you guys. Oh, welcome.
This is what's called a big table dinner. From setting up an elegant dining room inside downtown Spokane's Purple Turtle,
cauliflower bisque,
to food carefully crafted in the kitchen.
Those look really good. Perfect.
Everything has to be just right.
Would you care for an appetizer?
At this table, the distinguished guests are largely restaurant workers. They're invited through suggestions by their peers.
Just enjoying a good time and food.
The idea is simple. A free gourmet dinner giving restaurant employees a chance to sit together to unwind and enjoy the other side of dining.
They're like, it's free? Is this like some pyramid scheme or?
No scheme.
Nice idea.
It's just people like volunteer chefs Sylvia Wilson and Tony Brown coming together to soften some of the frayed edges in the lives of some very hardworking people.
And I've been in the restaurant business and catering business for a long time and have had employees that need help.
The food is donated, and the servers are everyday citizens.
In real life, I'm a professor at Gonzaga University.
How would we do that?
Big Table's care stretches beyond a nice dinner as guests identify people who are struggling.
If there's someone you know that's hurting or someone that's just hit a rough patch in their life, that's in the industry, write that down. Big Table responds with something as simple as sending flowers, or in the case of Romaldo Reyes, fulfilling a decades-old dream. Romaldo fled El Salvador to escape civil war 25 years ago. For the last 2 decades, he's been a faithful employee at Rock City Grill.
Owner Rose Rhodes calls Romaldo part of the family, but she also knows he has real family in El Salvador that he misses terribly, including 3 grandchildren he's never. Distance and financial constraints have prevented him from visiting but once.
Yes, this guy deserves a break. We want to send him home to El Salvador.
That's where Big Table comes in, with a gift so overwhelming it brings Romaldo to tears.
Romaldo is at the table tonight, and we've got a plane ticket for him and money to send him home.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Romaldo's daughter Anna watches her father struggle to single-handedly care for his entire family. This trip is just as much a gift to her as it is to him.
It's just amazing. I mean, it's the biggest joy in my life, I would say, so far, to watch him smile every day because he gets to go.
And he is just in awe that somebody would do that for him and they don't even know him.
It happened to me.
He's happy, and so are we.
It's the kind of life-lifting thing that happens around Kevin's Big Table. And as the plates are cleared and the guests have gone, it's time to look through the suggestions to find the next person in need.
Here's a guy whose mom has just died and now is taking care of 2 young siblings. A guy whose car is broken. Another woman who's out of work, and a younger server needs money to take time off to spend time with her dad who has cancer.
Big Table holds a dinner every other month. If you'd like more information about Big Table, we have a link for you on KREM.com.
The most common parking ticket in Spokane is the basic overtime violation, or letting your meter expire. That ticket will cost you $15. So how does one go from owing that amount to being thousands of dollars in debt? It can unleash a wave of terrible feelings.
Dread, disgust, nausea.
When you know running late is about to cost you.
Literally, I was 1 minute late. 1 minute late, and I got a ticket.
Oh, no.
They usually grab the ticket and kind of hang their head down.
$53? Are you out of your mind?
You can own up to it.
Is that all?
No. I have unpaid parking tickets.
But not everyone is so willing.
Be gentle.
You've got over 200 outstanding parking tickets, Mr. Benedict.
And Danny DeVito isn't the only one. We went on parking patrol and tracked down the most notorious offenders in Spokane who aren't paying up. And we discovered the numbers are staggering. In fact, the top 10 people owe a combined total of $73,000 in fines.
Wow.
That's crazy. Someone owes $11,000 in parking tickets. Does that surprise you?
Well, yes. I mean, that's a lot of parking tickets, frankly.
How would you even amass that amount? It's mind-boggling to me.
We're not sure either, so we went knocking on doors to find out. But the answers were as elusive as the payments to the city. No one in the top 10 wanted to talk on camera, although we did hear some excuses. More on that later. First, the breakdown. Violators 6 through 10 owe a combined total of $31,000, nearly 800 tickets in all.
I have no idea how you can owe that much.
I think to get that many, it's at some point there becomes an effort, a concerted effort to try to get tickets.
And here are the top 5 parking offenders. Combined, they skipped out on 1,092 tickets, a whopping total of $42,000. Number 5 is Sarah Heller, owing just over $6,900. Spot 4 belongs to Ian Wingate with 181 unpaid tickets. 3 on the list is David Stark, more than $7,300 in. Number 2 is Sean Carmen. He has 275 tickets amounting to $9,700. And Spokane's highest debtor, Matthew Hardy, 298 tickets and an unpaid balance of $10,670. But we discovered Hardy's is an extremely unusual case. He was killed in a crash several years ago. As a result, the city has forgiven his fines, but they stay on the books for 10 years. Remember, these are the registered owners of the vehicles, which isn't always the same person who committed the parking infraction, which brings me to those excuses. 2 people told us it was their children who accumulated all those tickets. Another woman said a friend was house sitting for her and used her car, apparently enough to rack up $5,000 in fines. So you might be wondering,
Goodbye.
What happens if you don't pay? If these guys aren't paying their tickets, what can you guys do about it?
Well, obviously, we try to work with folks, and collections can be very unpleasant.
Each year, the city sends $500,000 in unpaid tickets to collections. Of that, about half gets paid off.
Do we have a couple $100,000 that goes unpaid every year? Probably. Most people are honest, hardworking citizens, and they're going to pay those civil fines. We're going to have some people who refuse to pay or cannot pay.
You just had your birthday. Well, your driver's license just expired. Happy birthday, watch your head.
There is one other punishment for not coughing up the green. This can refuse to renew your license plates, making it pretty tough for you to drive at all. So the next time you pull up, remember to pay up. You might not end up in the slammer like DeVito, but you could make your way to the top of a not-so-flattering list.
Maybe they're going for the Guinness Book of World Records. I have no idea, but that would be like, I guess, bragging rights for Spokane.
And if you're wondering where the revenue from parking tickets goes, it's put into the city's general fund and helps pay for things like police, fire, libraries, and parks. Reporting in Spokane, Ashley Korsland, KREM 2 News.
Your commentator is Joe O'Brien. Scores of planes were bruised and battered.
For most people, World War II is not a memory, but a moment captured in a book or on old film. It was a dark time for millions of Americans as the country's young men fought in Europe and the Pacific. The warriors, now in their 80s and 90s, are the memory keepers. Bud Budverson was a photographer for the U.S. Army. For him, photography was more than just a hobby, it was his job. He wasn't just serving in the Army, but documenting it as well.
We would make 1 to 2 jumps a day sometime, and doing certain tactics, and I had to go because I was always a photographer.
He was only 18 years old when he enlisted, a teenager who, instead of getting shipped overseas to the Pacific late in the war, got sent to the Alaskan interior. There wasn't heavy fighting, but brutal cold. It was the perfect platform to test equipment, so much of it failing on the front lines during the long winters of Europe. It was called Force Frigid, and each of his missions and moments caught on large format camera. He took his speed graphic news camera everywhere, jumping out of planes, walking through the wild, and everyday military moments brought to life. Heavy glass plates and film negatives, his weapons of war that didn't harm but preserved. Eventually, Budverson put away the camera, married the love of his life, and raised a family.
Then you pull a slide out, and you take the picture.
Then, more than 65 years after he enlisted, the camera was called back into service.
It's like this.
At 85 years old, Budverson assumed his camera would no longer work. At the suggestion of a family member, he tried it out and didn't miss a shot.
We're going to do other prints, so I'm going to use the chemicals in here.
His lifelong passion of photography reignited. With the help of his sons, a darkroom was built. Camera equipment was found. America. And a trip to remember was planned. Earlier this month, Budverson boarded a plane to see the World War II memorial. He was going on honor flight with one goal in mind.
I photographed a parade in Washington, D.C. with this camera. April 6th of 1946, the first parade held after World War II in Washington, D.C. And I use the same camera, and I'm taking it back now and I'm going to photograph the World War Monument.
Now, long after the parades, honor flight gave Budverson a chance to be acknowledged again for his service. And while the crowds are much smaller compared to right after the war, the support is overwhelming.
I'll never have anything like that happen to me in my lifetime again. So I was kind of like I was back when I was 18 again.
While Budverson was able to capture the World War II memorial,
now I'm going to develop in this tray.
His favorite side of the trip was the Iwo Jima flag-raising memorial, a defining symbol of the war and a focus of his camera. Each photograph is painstakingly developed in his small Coeur d'Alene apartment. He no longer jumps out of planes, and his wings now sit behind glass.
That was shot with a red filter.
But his photographs allow him to connect to the past. They bring into focus moments that are so special for his family to share. Honor Flight took Budferson to Washington, D.C. to honor his service. But he, as a child, bring to life service and sacrifice.
Get our safe lights back on.
And it serves as a reminder for everyone that gratitude never gets old. Reporting in Coeur d'Alene, Laura Papetti, Creme 2 News.
Here's how it works. You tweet a good news story with the hashtag #CremGoodNews. Our reporters and producers will search that hashtag and select a few of those stories each month to feature on a Creme 2 newscast. Even if your story isn't chosen, it's a chance to share your good news with the community and hopefully start conversations about the good things people are doing. You can start using the hashtag #CremGoodNews now to let us and everyone else know about the good things you're seeing and hearing. Tonight, we have one example we think is Creme Good News.
Look at page 88.
Over the last 26 years, Lisa Miles Conrad has spent a lot of class time with 6th graders.
Can you think of a cause and effect in your own life?
But this year, a major life event snapped their connection into crystal clear focus.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer on February 29th.
It's as if the ground started giving way. While back at Wilson Elementary, students and staff were busy forming a framework of support.
All of the kids and staff were dressed in pink to welcome me back. This is 2 days after I was diagnosed. That's why I look like I was hit in the stomach. But look at them, I mean.
And look at them today. The pink shirts, water bottles, hair ties, even hair itself. It's all in support of what students call Project Pink.
We were super excited.
Yeah. It was dreamed up by this core group of 6th grade girls who wanted to show Mrs. Conrad they care. So they gathered where 6th grade girls do some of their best brainstorming, at a slumber party.
I thought I feel bad for her, and I don't think that this should happen anymore, and I want to help.
My mom actually had breast cancer twice. So from personal experience, I was sad about that, so we just wanted to stop all of it from happening.
They decided on Project Pink to raise money in the fight against breast cancer for all women. With help from their principal, they came up with Gum Day, where a donation gets your piece of gum and a free pass to chew it at school. Another donation earned students the right to don a hat, not normally part of the dress code. And then there are pink days.
And even the boys went all out with the pink day, like borrowed their sister's stuff, and it was really fun.
The girls admittedly set their initial goal pretty low.
It was like $75. I mean, we didn't think we'd get very much. And then we got $2,000. I was like, whoa, this is like amazing. This is like a dream.
Another dream has come true too.
And effect.
Mrs. Conrad is cancer-free.
My oncologist said she believes it's gone, and I do too.
I was celebrating, actually. I felt really good for her.
Mrs. Conrad feels good too. After all, she not only has her health, she has a new appreciation about how much she is appreciated.
My cup runneth over. It sounds like I'm 100 years old, but that's how I feel. I look at them and I just feel honored.
Wilson Elementary School Principal Tony Ressa was proud to drop off a check this week to the Susan G. Komen Foundation for $2,026. This is just one example of the good news stories in the Inland Northwest. Tweet us your good news stories to share with others anytime by using that hashtag #CremGoodNews. We look forward to reading them and spreading your good news. I'm Jane McCarthy, Creme 2 News.
Now at 6 years ago, AutoZem died after being beaten, tasered, and hogtied inside a North Spokane zip trip. Tonight, the officer accused of using excessive force against him headed to court to learn his fate. More than 4 years in a federal pen as he's led away in handcuffs.
Creme 2 News at 6 starts now.
Good evening and thanks for being with us. I'm Randy Shaw.
And I'm Jane McCarthy. This case started back in 2006 with a 911 call to a North Spokane zip trip.
Former Spokane police officer Carl Thompson used a specially made baton to beat a mentally ill janitor into submission and then tasered him. Zem later died 2 days later.
A jury convicted Thompson more than a year ago, and today he found out he'll serve more than 4 years in prison.
Now, we've had news crews covering all angles of the story. KREM 2's Ashley Korsland has been in the courthouse all day, tweeting the updates for us. She just spoke with Thompson's defense attorney.
Honora Swanson is waiting for a reaction from Spokane's new police chief. We start things off with Sean Chitness, who has details on what happened today in the courtroom as Thompson was led away in handcuffs. Sean.
Randy and Jane, good evening. Well, it was certainly a long day for all parties involved. We got things started around 9 a.m. when the prosecution decided to make its argument as to why it believed Carl Thompson deserved anywhere between 9 to 11 years. That took us to the middle of the day around noon, where members of Otto Zem's family, as well as some of his friends, decided to speak and address the court to argue or at least support the prosecution's argument. Then after lunch, the defense had its turn, asking for a lesser sentence or no jail time at all, and going through various points as to why they believe that. And then at the end of the defense's presentation, Carl Thompson addressed the court, asked if he could even speak to the family themselves, and he said some of the following statements we want to share with you. One of them was, quote, "I am deeply sorry for this tragic loss," end quote. Another one that he said, "I am and always have been responsible for my actions. I accept responsibility for my actions." And one more we want to share with you, quote, "Mr. Zem will always be a part of me. I've lived with the events of that night continuously." After Mr. Thompson finished up his statements, then it was time for the judge to pass it back to the prosecution. They decided to make a couple more statements refuting what the defense said, and then the judge took a break, almost an hour or so, and then at 4:20 he decided to begin reading what his decision was, and about 40 minutes later he gave the decision that we now know about what will happen to Carl Thompson. Reporting live, Sean Chitness, KREM 2 News.
KREM 2's Ashley Korsland has been inside the federal courthouse all day. She just finished speaking with Carl Thompson's defense attorney.
Ashley joined us now live with what he had to say after the judge's decision on sentencing.
Well, Randy, Jane, as you can imagine, it was a very emotional day for both the Thompson and Zem families. Now, in the end, the judge did sentence Thompson to just over 4 years in federal prison. Now, the government initially requested a sentence of 9 to 11 years for what they consider very severe convictions. The defense, though, in turn asked for a sentence of 2 years or no prison time at all. Now, the prosecution argued today that Thompson intended to cause bodily injury to Zem and that the former police officer did not accept responsibility for his actions. The defense countered, saying Thompson has assumed responsibility and did not intentionally harm Zem. Now, in the end, the judge did decide that Thompson did in fact intend to cause harm and that it was what he called a serious assault. Judge Van Sickle then sentenced Thompson to 51 months and denied the defense's request to free Thompson pending an appeal. Now, as Thompson's attorney walked out, I was able to catch up with him and ask him if he thought the rift between the community and the police department played a factor at all in the judge's decision.
I think that there's a rift in the community with the police department, but saying that Carl Thompson's sentence has anything to do with it, in my view, it doesn't. Carl Thompson, as I've said during the sentencing hearing, is someone who has been the figurehead, someone who has been held out for all of the wrongs that have occurred by all kinds of people in this community. And I think it's appropriate to sentence Carl for what Carl did, but not to be held accountable for all kinds of different issues that have occurred. If the community is going to mend its rift, it has to do that within itself. And this.
Now, again, the judge did sentence Thompson into custody immediately pending the hearing today and denied the defense's request to have him released until an appeal. The defense does plan to appeal the conviction. Reporting live in downtown Spokane, Ashley Korsland, KREM 2 News.
Now, fellow Richards was down at the courthouse speaking with witnesses there, and he talked to a teenager who was just a little girl. She was inside the Zip Trip that night that Otto Zem was beaten and tasered. He joined us now live with more on that story.
We talked to that teenager and her sister, Brittany Brashers and Miranda Brashers. They were inside the Zip Trip at the time. They were buying milk when Officer Carl Thompson came in there and was running after Otto Zem. They saw what happened. They tell us they are upset at the sentence. This is what they had to say.
He should have got longer. You can't just kill somebody and get 51 months. I mean, do you know anybody that's got away with that? He pretty much got away with it. And if he would have got charged when it first happened, he would have already been out. We've been waiting 6 years for this, and he gets 51 months. It's crazy.
Now, you vividly remember that day?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you remember?
I remember everything. I remember all of it. It's like it happened yesterday.
Your feelings of the sentence?
I agree with Brittany. He should have gotten longer.
Now, Miranda right there at the end, Miranda, she was 7 years old at the time. Brittany, she is now 20 years old. Both were young at the time. Both remember exactly what happened. They're both upset, saying, as you heard, that they had hoped that Carl Thompson would have gotten a longer sentence. Reporting live with Othello Richards, KREM 2 News.
Now, Spokane Police Chief Frank Straub is talking with one of our reporters right now. He did release part of a statement on Twitter just moments ago saying today's decision brings closure to a very difficult time in our city's history. We'll go live to our reporter with more on what he has to say as soon as he wraps up.
Mayor David Condon released a statement following the sentencing this afternoon, saying after more than 6.5 years, today's decision brings us closure on some level. Now's the time for healing. I appreciate Judge Van Sickle's thoughtful and purposeful work today and throughout the case. The sentencing decision was difficult, where we know there is no perfect amount of time, no perfect number. Any decision leads to pain for somebody in our community.
He also said, as a city and a police department, we know our challenge is to continue to move forward to a better future. Our focus remains on continuing to improve public trust and confidence in the Spokane Police Department and its officers. That work includes implementing the recommendations of the Use of Force Commission and achieving enhanced civilian oversight of police. We expect that our citizens will join us in these endeavors. And finally, to Ann Zem and the many family and friends of Mr. Otto Zem, I'm hopeful that this decision brings you peace. The U.S. Attorney's Office just held a news conference on the sentencing. Let's listen in to part of that.
The case proceeded to trial in October of 2011 with the jury on November 2nd of 2011 finding Carl F. Thompson guilty of violating Otto Zem's civil rights and also obstructing justice by basically lying at numerous points during the course of the FBI investigation. I would be remiss if, before we went on, I didn't make note of Otto Zem. And today, a portion, and probably not enough time, he was the victim of this unfortunate circumstance, but a portion of the hearing today was devoted to the kind of person that Otto Zem was, what his life meant to those around him who loved him, particularly his mom. And it's a tragedy that he left us all too soon. And this case, in part, was to bring justice to him and to his family. I also want to recognize that in the course of this process, and I think you saw it today with Judge Van Sickle, the hearing started at 9 o'clock this morning and it just completed about 5:20. The judge is very experienced. He spent a lot of time today, was very deliberate in analyzing and reviewing the information that he received, and while his decision is below the guidelines that we recommended that the court sentence Mr. Thompson to, I would have to say that I think Judge Van Sickle was very thoughtful in his deliberations. And Mr. Thompson was represented by very able and capable lawyers. We certainly did battle with them for a number of years, but they're very professional lawyers, and they did a very good job. I do want to also thank our colleagues who worked with us from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Frank Carroll, who's the Special Supervisory Agent in charge.
You're listening to the U.S. Attorney there saying that justice has been served in the case considering Otto Zem and what happened to Officer Carl Thompson, who was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison and led away in handcuffs a short time ago. Our KREM 2 news crews were tweeting all day from the federal courthouse, bringing you the latest updates from inside the courtroom as things were going on. And remember, you can follow us at KREM 2 and on Facebook for breaking news updates at any time.
KREM 2's coverage of this story doesn't stop here. Make sure to head to KREM.com for all of our coverage today, as well as the history on the case. Then watch KREM 2 News tonight at 10 and 11.
Now, turning to the weather, we have Tom Sherry here with us now. Maybe one more dry day.
Yeah, it looks like that. Then things change and the clouds open up for the weekend. I'll tell you how long that's going to last. You see a little bit of cloud cover down to the south of us into the Palouse in southeastern Washington, but really no real cloud cover across our area. Gosh, wasn't that sunshine beautiful today? It's 37 in Post Falls, 30 in Thompson Falls. It's in Montana. Bonners Ferry, you're at 32. Colville checks in at 33. We'll look for increasing clouds, low clouds overnight, some patchy fog developing. Probably not as much sunshine tomorrow as what we saw today. So we've got that weather system headed our way. We'll call for mostly cloudy. Seasonal temperatures with a high of about 41 degrees. And again, tracking rain for the weekend. More precipitation expected next week. I'll tell you if that's going to be rain or snow with your 10-day forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Tom, thank you. The Zem family attorney Brianne Beggs is speaking with our reporters right now. Let's listen in.
Not all of them were the fault of the police, but they were in contact. And so the training needs to be changed and the recruiting needs to be changed. The profile of the officer needs to be someone that on the street can de-escalate conflict, recognize mental health and mental disability issues so that they respond appropriately. And Chief Straub has announced an initiative to partner up social workers with police officers in the field when dealing with the mentally ill. That's the type of program we're going to need in order to get where we want to be.
What would you say to the department's argument that this was an aberration and that there's not really a problem, it was just this case? And the argument they make is that there's not been a second similar situation.
There have been multiple similar situations. They didn't have the benefit of videotape, a Department of Justice investigation, and a trial to find out everything that happened. All you have to know about the department is the testimony of their training officer at trial that said Officer Thompson did everything correctly. And 5 years of the department saying it was all Otto's fault and the department did nothing wrong. The problem with that approach, although it's great to support your officers, is it means nothing will change. What Ann Zem wanted from this case from the beginning was to ensure that no other family would go through what she went through. The first step is to acknowledge what went wrong and how it needs to be fixed in the future. And until everyone at the department recognizes that, we won't be able to prevent it in the future.
Were you surprised how long it took?
I was surprised how long it took at the time. I am not surprised anymore. I learned a lot about it, but all along when I was at the Center for Justice and beyond, we always said we're playing for the hearts and minds of the entire community. And it's not enough to figure out what happened and to make the recommendations of what needs to change. You have to educate the entire community. And what Otto Zem's life and death meant is that Spokane gets it, and they know, and even at the highest levels they know now. That kind of social change doesn't happen overnight, and it takes years. But the good news is, once the consciousness is raised to that, it'll stay in place, and that's why Spokane is on the road to change at this point. And I have every confidence that it will. I have no doubts about it. So every day and week and month of those 6 years has been worth it to get where we need to go.
Brianne Beggs, a Zem family attorney, saying we've been a long way, 6 years since this incident happened at Zip Trip when Otto Zem was beaten and tasered and later died, with the conviction today, or the sentencing today, of Carl Thompson to 4 years in a federal prison.
More coverage when we come back.
And now, the KREM 2 News Storm Tracker 2 forecast with Tom Sherry.
And tonight I want to thank Avista Utilities. The wonderful people there raised $8,000. Then the Avista Foundation matched that for a total of $16,000. Big hugs, that's what I say. That provides 800, get that, 800 local families with a Thanksgiving meal.
And we think that this is a great event, that you and KREM are involved in, the Salvation Army and Rose Hours, and so the Avista employees really are excited to step up and contribute their own money toward the Tom's Turkey Drive as well.
Who's the man? Jason's the man. Tom's Turkey Drive kicks off tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, early tomorrow morning. You can stop by area Rose Hours or donate online at creme.com via Numerica Credit Union. And also I want to let you know the Salvation Army was present today, and they presented a Vista with its most prestigious award, the Making Spokane Better Award, for all their involvement in the in outreach into the community. A well-deserved award. And of course, as you saw there on the screen, $20 donation buys a complete Thanksgiving meal for a family in need. We hope you'll support us tomorrow and Saturday. Temperatures, 42 was the high today after a morning low of 34. That glorious sunshine that showed up by mid-morning, stuck around through the afternoon hours, that was nice. Yours truly did not mind being stuck in traffic with that sun coming into the car. 36 in Coeur d'Alene, 38 in Spokane, 40 in Moses Lake. Also mid-30s from Omak into Wenatchee. Othello, you're at 40 degrees. We'll look for mostly cloudy skies this evening with temperatures mostly in the 30s. Then overnight lows dropping down to freezing tonight. Could see some patchy fog again form in the overnight hours, especially in some wind-sheltered areas, and light wind. And then tomorrow we'll look for a daytime high of 41. Probably a little bit more cloud cover tomorrow than what we saw today, but still a comfortable November day to enjoy with a little bit of wind out of the east at 5 to 10 miles an hour. And enjoy Friday because it all starts to go downhill over the weekend, especially Saturday night into Sunday. That's the low pressure system right there that we're tracking. You get it. That's the low spinning around the cold front that's associated with it. Look where it's headed, right towards the Pacific Northwest. That's what we think moves in Saturday, late Saturday and into Sunday. But for Friday, we'll call for another dry day. Daytime highs in the low to mid 40s. Look at the comfortable weather over in Portland and Seattle. My goodness, beautiful. 55 in Portland. Then we're into the 40s in the Tri-Cities. We'll see temperatures in the low 40s in the Panhandle. Again, across most of eastern Washington, we're in the 40s except Walla Walla and Lewiston. You've got 50 degrees pretty much in both locations there. 45 expected in Grangeville. So here we go. Turkey Drive starts tomorrow. We'll look for a daytime high of 41. We continue the Turkey Drive at Rose Hour stores into Saturday. Rain starts on Saturday, but good driving around and shopping weather. A lot of families out, shopping for their Thanksgiving dinner. We hope you'll swing by Rose Hours, but at least you've got good roads. Although wet, we'll look for rain showers through the Thanksgiving holiday, and then as we get more into that longer weekend, we could even see some snow showers developing over Saturday and Sunday as temperatures get closer to freezing.
Boy, I'll tell you what, we need 10 more checks like a Vista.
Gosh.
Yes.
And we're done.
And isn't it awesome that came from the employees and then
the company.
And the company matched
What a
it.
great thing. What a
Yeah,
great thing.
thank you, Randy.
Fantastic. We'll be right back.
You're watching Creme 2 News at 6.
I want to continue our coverage now of the sentencing of Carl Thompson, who got 4 years in a federal prison this afternoon.
Honora Swanson just got out of a press conference with Spokane's new police chief, Frank Straub. She joins us on the phone with his reaction. Honora, what did he have to say?
Well, Jan, Randy, as you said, we just stepped outside of that after talking to the chief. Here are a few of the things he mentioned. Of course, he said this has been a tragic incident for the entire community and the families involved. He says it's something no community or department should ever have to go through. He does say, though, that the ruling brings closure tonight. He says the Spokane Police Department has learned a great deal from this. He says he's committed to moving forward after the incident, and he wants to continue to improve the department. In terms of the sentence tonight that Judge Van Sickle handed down, he says he and the department must respect what that federal judge says. He says in regard to the future in the department that he needs to learn, the department as a whole needs to learn how to heal, and that this whole experience has been incredibly hard. Now, we'll have more on our conversation with Chief Straub tonight at 10 and 11. Reporting live, Honora Swanson, Creme 2 News.
Had viewers not only Spokane but all over the region are reacting right now to Thompson's sentencing on our Facebook page.
People have a lot of opinions about this. Creme 2's Cole Heath is watching our social media sites and brings us your reactions. Cole?
Randy, Jane, since we first broke this story, this huge announcement on Facebook and Twitter, likes, comments have been flooding in. Just looking at Facebook alone so far, 263 comments, 58 likes. For the most part, the reaction has been too lenient, that Officer Thompson should have gotten a max sentence. Some people saying that they're sickened by this, but the word that keeps reoccurring on comments and different opinions being shared on the Facebook page is lenient. That has been the word so far, just looking through the hundreds of the comments so far. Twitter as well, that has been the norm that we're seeing. Again, people saying that it was too lenient, it was not enough done, and that there was even hints of special treatment in some people's opinion towards Officer Thompson. Randy, Jane, back to you.
Thank you, Cole. We are tracking another breaking news story tonight. Officials evacuated several county courthouses this afternoon across Washington state. That is because of bomb threats. So far, threats have been reported at the courthouses in Adams, Benton, Chelan, Clark, Douglas, and Thurston counties. Deputies have not found anything suspicious at those courthouses.
Never heard of anything like that happening in the region ever before. Coming up now in our next 30 minutes, a year after his conviction on the death of Otto Zem, Carl Thompson is headed to prison. He was led away tonight in cuffs.
And I'm tracking lots of wet weather headed our way. I'll tell you if that means rain or snow. Your 10-day forecast coming up in this half hour.